Go
Hi,
ahead.
good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Transformation Wednesday once again. I am so glad to be here 2 days in a row, guys. 2 days in a row. And those of you who are on my email, I know that some of you might be wondering, is she going to write to us this week? I am certainly going to write to you. I am working on something special that I'm going to be sending you, and hopefully it's going to be sent out tomorrow. But hang in there, it's coming. I want to come in here today to spend time with you, and I want to remind you that the reason why we created this beautiful community is to share ideas, inspire each other, and to simply bring professional development to all teachers, whether your school supports you with PD. Some schools do not support with PD. We know how that goes. So I am so happy to be able to connect with other educators, and that every single one of them, every time I ask them to come along, they always say, yes, I'll be there. And I am so appreciative of that. That is something beautiful that we have as world language teachers. So I am absolutely grateful for that. So hola, Cristina. Hola, Iram. Good to see you guys. Well, I'm going to start by introducing myself like I always do, because every week we are blessed with new people in this group. So my name is Berta Delgadillo, and I am a Spanish teacher, high school Spanish teacher in Savannah, Georgia. And I am absolutely super happy to collaborate and to share with you part of my journey. That is my passion. If I can save you some time, headaches, and heartaches, my job is done. So that's why I opened this space. So I've been teaching for 7 years, and well, close to 7 years, and I absolutely love it. It is tough, especially now, but I still love it. I still love it. And even though there's so much uncertainty, especially in my district, there is a lot of uncertainty in my district right now, but it is okay. And I'm just looking ahead, and I'm staying positive, and I try not to worry about things I have no control of. But I'm not going to get too much into that, because that's kind of like what we're going to be talking about today, a lot of wonderful things. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my friend. And I call her my friend, even though I just connected with her for like 3 weeks
We're
now.
friends. We're friends.
We're friends. We hit it off right away. So I want to introduce you to Nikki Hernandez. And before I, hand it over to her to introduce herself, I want to tell you that I had noticed that Nikki was online, and that she was offering certain workshops. And I actually visited one of her workshops, but it wasn't until 2 weeks ago that she was doing a very short live in her page. And she was talking about, self-care and how we could be strong through these times. And it was not just your regular stuff that you see. No, she really took me deep, you guys. So when I listened to her, and I said, ouch, and then I did some self-reflection. I said, I have to bring this girl, I have to bring this lady, I have to bring this educator to my group, and she has to share all her greatness with my group. So here she is. I'm bringing you Nikki Hernandez tonight, and I'm going to let her introduce herself to you.
Hi, guys. My name is Nikki, and I'm super glad to be with you today. I'm just a high school Spanish teacher as well, here in the thick of things with all of you, doing all the same things, having all the same feelings, and going through all the same things. So today, I really want to spend some time with you talking about momentum and how we can build that momentum, sustain that momentum, and figure out where we are right now in terms of, have we built momentum? Are we kind of stuck? Are we overwhelmed? Are we feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety? Are we frustrated? Where are we right now? And then where do we go from there, essentially? So I'm excited to talk to you about some of those things.
And absolutely. And we can ask the people who are watching us, or audience tonight. I see Madeline, I see Rebecca. And you guys, if you want to answer the question, how do you feel in your momentum right now? Or are you kind of wondering, what? Because that happens to a lot of us at times, with momentum. So yes, definitely. I'll go ahead and bring up the presentation, Nikki.
Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. Hola, Dawn. I see Dawn as well.
Hey, awesome. Very good. So for me, I just want to make sure that I've got everything. So on your end, do you guys see the slide that says momentum?
Yes, they are going to see it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that we've got that piece going. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be on a totally different slide as everybody else.
No, you're
so
good.
I'm super excited to be with you guys today. And the first thing I want to let you know about is that if you are feeling overwhelmed, I'm going to be hosting some other mental sort of acuity workshops on these dates. And if you're interested in that, just send me an email and I'll send you the registration link and you can get started with that. And I'm super excited to do this because we're going to talk about a lot of really great things. So aside from that, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is reflection and self-assessment. This whole webinar is about creating a habit, right? So typically when we think of building momentum or just the term momentum in general, we think of sports and how the momentum might change in the favor of one team versus another. And it just sort of happens, maybe because the team feeds off the energy of the crowd and the cheering and all those types of things. But we're not really talking about that type of momentum. This type of momentum that we're going to discuss today is about creating an actual habit that's going to make a huge difference in our lives. So the question really is, why is this important? Well, part of the reason why this is super important is because if you consider the question, what is the alternative if I don't have any momentum? Or maybe because it's the beginning of the school year, you're thinking, oh, I've got a ton of momentum right now. But what happens in the middle of the month? Maybe towards the end of the month? What's going to happen 2 months from now, right? So if you think about that and how the momentum can sort of wane, you start to see why this concept is so important to our lives. So some questions that we're going to discuss today are, what do we do, right? If we've built momentum, but we've slipped out of it. And I don't know about you guys, but recently I slipped out of my momentum because before school started, the whole pandemic thing, like I was playing pickleball, when things started to open up, and I was like out with my friends playing pickleball, outside being super active, like 6 or 7 hours, like a day. And then all of a sudden school started, and that literally I went from being like totally free and being able to do whatever I wanted pretty much all the time to school starting and having like zero ability to do anything because it has sucked all the time that I have. So, and then I went from like being super active 6 to 7 hours a day to like not even being able to like fit in a workout because I was so busy. So I kind of slipped out of it, and it was like a shock to the system going back to school and all this stuff. And I didn't realize that was going to happen. So I had to sort of reassess, find out where I was, and then kind of go from there. And we're going to talk about that today. So one thing I want you guys to do, if you're okay with typing in the chat, is have you recently lost any momentum? If you've lost it, then go ahead and share. Feel free to share your experience with us, and you can be as vulnerable as you want to because we're all here in this super supportive community. And this would, if I were honest, this would be the only group that I would want to do this in because we all are of a similar mindset. So what I want you to consider at this moment in time is, have you recently lost your momentum? And then the next question is, where are you right now with regards to your momentum? Like we talked about before, are you overwhelmed right now? Do you feel like you've got your head barely above water? Is it under the water? Is it like right here and you're just kind of floating along? Where are you? Or maybe you're in a really good place, but we have to start where we are. We know that as teachers, we have to start where our students are. So it's a very similar thing. We want our students to know where they are, so we've got to know where we are in order to address these issues.
Absolutely.
So,
if we're doing our social emotional learning checks right now, and I know that those have become, and I don't want to use the word popular because, those are great part of our practice, but now we hear more about social emotional learning because of the situation we're living. We also have to have social emotional learning checks with ourselves. And you are asking our audience, our listeners, if they have lost momentum. And I'm just keep hearing, I have 3 yeses. And I'm sure the people who haven't responded are also can relate to that. And I actually responded on the comments too. And I can tell you this, I am on week, I lost track. I'm on week 4.5 with students, and I'm on week 7 as going back to school fully. And I think I have lost my momentum at least 4 times already for various circumstances. And we have several comments that I'm going to highlight.
Okay.
So Tammy's saying, I've lost momentum lots. I am overwhelmed with online learning and sometimes feel pretty distant from my students since I don't see them. And that is absolutely, I hear you, because it happens sometimes. Some students, if you're not in a district that's forcing them to have their camera on, which is actually a good thing to not force them to have their camera on, that, you know, half of the students will not want to show their faces. So definitely, I know what that's like, because I feel like I have established a good rapport with my students, but I still don't see all of them. So, you know, if your students are not showing their face, I just want to say you can do other things like cold call them when you're conducting an activity and they respond. And what I loved yesterday I was doing a write and discuss with them online, because I'm 100% virtual. And I had 2 typos. And my students corrected me. And I'm like, oh, they're paying attention. They're paying attention. You know, we might think they're not paying attention. And we want to, sometimes we think that they're really not, but they are. So find, you know, a lot of interactive activities. So that way, even though I know it's hard to bring that energy to a bunch of little black squares or rectangles, but let's think about it more, like, at least in my case, you know, out of 28 students, 2 are actually sleeping, the rest of them are with me. So I just want to say that. And then Airam is saying, finding that balance by being intentional on purposely detaching from what stresses me. So yeah, that is definitely a challenge, even for me. For me, it's hard to detach from stress. We have Don, who's saying, feel like I'm barely staying above water. Virtual and in-person teaching is exhausting, especially right now, Don. You are totally correct. I saw a tweet today that said, it was a teacher that I absolutely admire, and she said, I guess it's safe to say that as long as I put in my lesson plan before the class starts, it's all good. And I'm like, I didn't comment, but I'm in my mind, I'm like, yes, girl, I am so there, because you know what? I am the same way. Like my lesson, like today was a virtual day, and my lesson plan, I was actually about 20 minutes late this morning for today, because I had to finish up some activity so that they all had examples and all the links ready to go, so that I wouldn't have a million questions throughout the day. But you know, that's when I was able to get it done. Reina is saying, yes, we're all virtual and internet has not cooperated either end on our students. The interruption is a shock to my system. Absolutely. I heard that there are a lot of internet problems, and those don't really help anybody as far as like with Google and things.
Exactly.
Madeline's saying everybody loses momentum. So yes, we're all in this. It happens to all of us. Doesn't matter how well put together you see people, we all get there. And it's happening right now. And, you know, and Nikki is going to give us some tips on how to manage that. Okay, and then we have one last comment. That's my problem right now. So, Nikki.
Yes, no, I get it. I feel all of that so hardcore right now. And you know, on another webinar, we can definitely discuss some specific and like very small and very simple strategies that we can use in the classroom to, you know, increase the engagement and the participation level of our students. And, you know you would love to talk about that, and I'd certainly like to share some strategies that I use as well. But let's go ahead and talk about like our personal selves and just kind of put school to the side for 1 second, and let's look at us as just human beings, right? So the first thing that I really want to talk to you guys about is the fact that nothing that you're going to hear today, sorry to disappoint, but nothing you're going to hear today is anything that you haven't heard before. These are all very simple things, but oftentimes, right, we need reminders. And sometimes our problems, you know, like the ones that Berta just eloquently discussed, is that some of our problems become super complex. Sometimes the problems become, you know, things that are outside of our realm of control. I had one of those moments today where I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, sometimes we feel overwhelmed. And when that happens to us, what occurs usually is that we sometimes overlook the simplest and the most effective solutions to our problems, right? Because we're so overwhelmed and we're just in the fog. So one thing I wanted to bring to your attention is Tony Robbins. You might know him or have heard of him. He's a motivational speaker. And where these ideas that I'm talking about like came from, They came from him, and the link, if you literally, you don't even have to click the link. If you can't click it because it's a Facebook Live, that's fine. But literally just go to YouTube and type in Tony Robbins Momentum, and you'll find like all kinds of resources and inspirational messages and things like that. So anyway, going into this presentation now, there are really 4 key tips to building momentum, and these are the 4 that we're going to talk about today. Number 1 is making your body stronger. The second one is paying attention to what we feed our minds. The third one is having gratitude. And the fourth one is taking action. So why don't we just go ahead and dive right into that? Does that sound good, Berta?
Of course, yes.
Awesome. Okay. So with regards to physical strength, you and I had sort of discussed this outside of Facebook Live and everything, and just on a more personal level. The question, I was hosting a Facebook Live one day, and I asked a specific question that Berta eventually messaged me, and we didn't really know each other at the time. And I had said something on my Facebook Live that I feel like kind of impacted her, which I'm super happy about, because when I heard it, it also impacted me. So I was glad to be able to pay that forward. And the question is, what am I doing to make my body stronger? Right? That's the first thing, is physical strength, right? And if the answer to that question is nothing or very little, then in my opinion, this is really where we should start. For me, I personally like to focus on the body before the mind. And the only reason why I say that is because, and some people prefer the mind over the body, but the reason why I say that is because if I work out, my mind feels better. I feel better physically and mentally. Right? But if I just do something for my mental health, like listening to a podcast or reading something, I don't necessarily feel better physically. I'll just feel better mentally, which is great, but I want both. So I usually start with the physical traits, or the physical aspect of things, because that helps to get my mind in a better place. But this is very individual. So if you prefer to start with the mind first before you work out, that's totally fine, and it's normal. It's totally going to depend on you. So one key point that I want to make before I go into this, though, is that the more overwhelmed we are, everybody who is typing in the chat and everything else, the more overwhelmed we are and the more work we have, the more problems we're facing, the more challenges that we're having, the more things that we have on our to-do list, the more important it becomes to strengthen our body, right? So we can't forego that. So, Berta and I were talking about this yesterday as well, is that the reason why you're here, not just here on this Facebook Live, but the reason why you're a teacher, you're an educator, is because it's your calling, right? This is your passion. This is why you're here right now.
So in it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. You're certainly not there for that. That is definitely the truth. So we really have to take care of the vessel, which is our body, that allows us to do this critically important work, right? So again, let's start with the question, what am I doing to make my body stronger? The second point is that, our body is really cool. It's the one thing in this world that the more you use it, the stronger it gets, right? If you think of anything else, like a car, a phone, a computer, really anything, the more you use that object, the more dilapidated it becomes, the more broken down and worn out it becomes, right? But the body's not like that. It wasn't designed that way. So when we work on our body and we do more with it, the stronger it actually becomes. The reverse happens. So kind of looking at it from that perspective makes us feel, a little bit more enthusiastic about working out, because we know we're just going to get stronger. We're actually not going to get weaker as a result of using it. So we can use the strength of our bodies to really show up in a different way and to be strong in all of our lives, like in our work life, our professional life, our, financial life, our kids' life, whatever it is. So think of the body as the vessel that you use to show up in a strong way, right? So let's just kind of take that old mindset and shift it to the new mindset, basically. And another key thing is that when we strengthen the body, we really strengthen the mind. And that's the reason why I like to start with the physical over the mental, because, the body is capable of doing so much more than our mind gives it credit for. Right? So when we're working out and we're doing something really hard, let's say we're doing bicep curls or whatever it is, right? What is your mind telling you? Well, your mind's saying, oh, I can't do one more. Stop, rest, time to get some water, take a break, right? And that's because the mind operates from a place of like fear, and it's trying to protect you, and it doesn't like to do hard things, right? But your body can actually push through that. So why is this important? Well, it's important because let's say you're doing, these tricep exercises or whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe you're doing yoga and you're stretching and you feel like you can't go deeper into that stretch, and your mind's telling you, no, stop, right? Why is this important? Well, the thing is that you can push yourself physically. Your mind's saying you can't, but you can do one more rep. You can go a little bit deeper into that stretch. And each time you do that, it strengthens the mind and it builds physical endurance as well as mental endurance. And the mental endurance is really the key to all of this, because that's going to really help us conquer the day. And the more mental endurance that we have, the less likely it is that we're going to feel, sort of overtaken by all these responsibilities and challenges that we're currently facing, right? It helps us to really conquer the day because we have the mental endurance and the mental fortitude to be able to do that. So the bullet point below that, just keep in mind, to push yourself when you're doing these physical exercises, whether it's yoga or stretching, walking, you don't have to go like run 10 miles or anything like that unless you want to, but really try to push yourself. Just do one extra rep of whatever you're doing to push yourself, because that helps to build the mental fortitude. And also, when it comes to strengthening the body, it's key to find, various ways to strengthen our body. So, for me, I like to do, a variety of different things. I like to do yoga. I definitely like to walk. I love to do squats. I love to do ab workouts and, those types of things. I play basketball and pickleball and all those types of things. So, and I don't really run too much because I hurt my ankle a couple weeks back, and I was like, oh, no, I can't do this. So running is really not my thing, but finding out all the different exercises and things that work for you is great. And having a variety there is going to help you build all kinds of physical strength that we need to really survive this school year. Not just survive, but really thrive, right?
Absolutely.
And so, go ahead, Bertha.
I was just going to say, it is totally possible to thrive. That doesn't mean that every day is going to be a beautiful day, but that thriving does not mean that. But you can certainly thrive in all of this. And I absolutely love what Rebecca's saying. Rebecca, I totally agree. That's why, I was listening to Nikki talk about this on her page, and I said, I have to bring her to my page. Because this is so valuable, and some people are ready to receive it and some people are not. However, I want to emphasize, I have had a love and hate relationship all my life with exercise. My husband, he exercises no problem. I mean, he's military, and he's just all about it. But he's always told me, you need to exercise, not because I have a problem with your body or anything like that, but you need to exercise because you need to be sharp, you need to be strong, and it's not just physical strength. And Nikki, last week I was going through something, and I started exercising more, and I realized that towards the end of the week, when I was doing the most exercise, even though the problem was still there, I was just a lot better about it. So if you have not experienced what Nikki's talking about, you exercise, you make your body stronger, then you can actually face the challenges, and it just does something to your mind. Actually, I think the brain releases endorphins when you exercise, and that's, creates positive feelings in your body. And so, and I understand, what time are you going to exercise? You're probably wondering, Berta, I'm going to sleep at 2:00 in the morning, or waking up at 6 a.m. and I don't have time. We have to make it a priority, our life depends on it, because it does. Yeah, it really, really does. So
yes, thank you for that. And what's funny, you kind of said something, how it produces endorphins, and every time I hear that word endorphins, I literally think of Legally Blonde, when they were talking about Brooke Wyndham, the girl who was on trial for shooting her husband or whatever. And Reese Witherspoon is like, happy people just don't shoot their husbands or whatever like that. And when you work out, it's true. It really does make you happier and more confident and able to kind of take on the day, even though, these problems or these challenges are still there, right? And that's really the key to all of this. So just to continue a little bit, I want to kind of just mention also that, successful people, they don't miss a day. And, when I'm talking about like successful people, I'm talking about like people like The Rock and, just all these like superstars that you're thinking of. And the reason why they've gotten to, we might not necessarily attain to like Hollywood status of celebridom, but the thing is that their discipline is something that we can take and apply in our lives, because if working out for them is sort of a non-negotiable, it should be a non-negotiable for us, because we have a job, like you were talking about, Berta, that is so important. And we have these challenges that we're going to face. And it's not just the job itself. Like, you and I were talking about yesterday, people have families, family members that are sick, or, maybe they're raising a young child in all of this. And I mean, it's really challenging. So we've got real challenges to deal with, real problems to handle. And we want to be mentally disciplined and very mentally focused. This is the time to start building these habits, right? So we can have the strength to be able to deal with these things. So in order to do that, right, we want to say to ourselves, we want to basically set small attainable goals and then build from there, right? So if we're kind of at a point, we've assessed where we are with regards to momentum, and we've said, you know what, I'm not in a good place right now, right? We'll start small, right? And that's like where, I was like, as of like 2 or 3 days ago, because, school started and I was just like, I don't know what to do, right? Because school's taking up all my time. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to start small. I'm going to do like a 5-minute ab workout in the morning, and that's going to be it. And then the next day I'll add on and I'll add on and I'll add on, and I'll find out what works for me. But, I had to set a small goal first, because it was, like I said before, it was such a shock to the system from being like totally free to do whatever to all of a sudden literally having to time everything. Like literally I was in my head like, okay, I have 1 minute and 13 seconds to do this. I've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds before my students come in. Like that kind of regimented schedule for at least 12 to 14 hours a day, for the first like week and a half, that's where we are right now, was just crazy. So I had to start small and then kind of build up to it to where I'm like in, a fairly decent place now. And I know that I'll get past this and I'll be better for it. So it's about building those habits. So the question that we really want to ask ourselves as well, actually, let me just take a step back for a second. With regards to setting the small attainable goals and then building from there, there's just like a side point that I wanted to say. And, really too many people, right? This is just my own opinion, take it, with a grain of salt, but really too many people feel like, if the conditions outside aren't like absolutely perfect, or their emotional state isn't exactly what they want it to be, or their family life or this or that isn't exactly perfect, then what they do is they make the excuse and they say, well, I'm not going to work out today, right? Because what they want is they're waiting for that sort of perfect day to get started. But the thing is that, if we do that, then we are nowhere closer to where we want to be in terms of our goals, whether they're personal, professional, financial, or otherwise, right? We're not closer to where we want to be when we do that. So like for me, I haven't done my workout today, but, after this webinar, I'm going to think of all the motivations and all the things that I've got going on that are going to push me to work out. And that's going to get me excited again. And then I'm going to go do a quick workout, handle my other responsibilities and things like that. So just kind of wanted to point that out. Don't wait for the perfect day, right? Like the perfect conditions to go do this,
If you wait for the perfect day, it may never come, honestly.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. And like I said, I understand that. And like I said, I know that some people might have a hard time connecting. You have to be ready to receive this type of message, like I said earlier. Yeah. But definitely for me, I've experienced it in the past, in my younger years, how exercise really changed things for me. So I know the power of exercise in our body. And I totally agree with Nikki, because I follow a lot of really successful people that I look up to as well. And all of them, when I have, paid for a webinar from them or paid for a resource from them, they all talk about how they wake up earlier to, they're talking about my passion wakes me up. And I'm just like, whoa, I want to get to that level. or that they just wake up earlier because they need to work out. That is something that they cannot let pass, because we only get one body, and we have to take care of it. And honestly, in all honesty, with this physical strength, building that physical strength is going to help us carry out our other duties, like Nikki just mentioned.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you for adding that. And then this last thing here, what changes? So when we start working out and we start building these small habits, then what's going to change in our life? Is that really going to make a difference? Well, yes, because what's going to happen is that when we start working out and we're taking these small steps to build this habit, we're going to be more confident, right? We're going to have more confidence. And as a result, like there's so many, like you can literally Google this. Like if you just Google benefits of confidence, the list is like a mile long, right? When we're confident, we have more influence, in our own lives, influence over others, positive influence, of course. We feel better about ourselves, obviously. We're going to make better decisions. We're going to have a positive attitude, which is going to draw the right people into our lives. And we're going to have more presence. We're going to have more presence of mind, with our students and with our colleagues. And we're going to be able to meet their needs in a much more adept and intelligent and capable way, because we're in a good place physically and we're confident about ourselves. Like, who doesn't want that, So there's the physical strength aspect of it. And then now, if you're cool with it, I kind of want to go into mindset.
Of course.
So this is a really interesting one because usually people will start with the mind. I like to start with the physical first because it helps both. But if you want to start with the mind, it's totally cool. No right way to do it, no wrong way to do it. It's really going to depend on you. So when it comes to the mind, we really want to be super careful about what we're feeding it in terms of the type of information that we're taking in daily. So if you watch Tony Robbins' video, he basically talks about that the minimum amount of time that you should spend working on your mindset and training your mind and listening to inspirational messages and all that kind of stuff and educating yourself about, whatever you're doing, whatever your craft is, whether it's teaching or business or this or that. He says the recommended amount of time is 30 minutes a day, right? For me right now, 30 minutes a day is it's just not feasible with everything going on. So I usually shoot for like 5 to 15 minutes, and I will usually listen to some sort of inspirational message, like on my way to school, driving, or I will listen to it like as I'm walking my dog Lucy, or, maybe like if I'm, taking a shower or a bath or something like that, I'll try to, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I do it when I'm cooking, and sometimes, because I'm going to be very honest with you, like I said earlier, I don't like working out. I understand the benefits of it, and once I'm done, I feel glorious. But getting myself there, and the beginning of it is just like, ugh. So sometimes what I do love is the whole mind, and I do love everything that has to do with. I'm a super positive person for the most part, and and I'm very spiritual. So I absolutely love everything. I believe words have power, and I believe, I need to be thinking positive things because of my spiritual beliefs. But I just want to say, for me, if I can't get myself to work out, I can get myself to work out if I know I'm listening to a positive message. So what I used to work out, I use Beachbody, and no, I don't have a referral link. I paid about less than $100 for it, and Beachbody on Demand has like all these exercise programs. So if you like yoga, you can do yoga. If you like weightlifting, you can do weightlifting. If you like cardio, you can do cardio. They have like really amazing exercise programs that you can do the whole year, and you can do it from your house. So you don't even have to leave your house, and that's what I love about it. And the workouts are really fun, but it's still hard for me to make it, to show up, but I still show up anyway. And one way that helps me show up, Nikki, it's like double, I get like both of them in. It's like I put on my computer the Beachbody workout, and then on my speaker, which I have another speaker, I put my Eric Thomas. I love Eric Thomas. Okay, he is amazing. Just like Tony Robbins, but I just absolutely love to listen to Eric Thomas. Like, he just fuels my spirit, my being. It's just like amazing. So I put Eric Thomas really loud with his motivational messages while I'm working out, and that way I don't feel like, oh my God, I worked out. It doesn't feel boring. It feels like it happens in no time. So that's my little trick on how to get both of them in one. So.
Exactly. I love that. I love the fact that you are different than I am in the sense that you need your mind trained before you can get into the physical. And I'm the exact opposite. I need my body trained before I can get into the mindset. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and it's very individual for everybody. And I'm looking at the comments, and people are saying like, I miss my Zumba classes. And some people are saying like, I'm going to do some stretching exercises after this. And that's excellent. So, and the stretching exercises like combined like with the yoga and stuff, the yoga is a great activity because it's because it works out the body and the mind, like you were saying, but at the same time, right? So if you can get that benefit as well, more power to you. So let's go ahead and continue with the mindset training. So, you know, when you start training your mind, the question we have to ask ourselves, like just like working out kind of builds our confidence and leads to other benefits as well. What happens when we start training the mind, right? Well, when we start training the mind, we feel clear-headed, we feel lighter, we feel inspired, we feel passionate, right? Because like you said, Berta, when you're watching the videos of like your favorite, you know, superstars and stuff, and they're telling you about their lives and how they're getting up early and all this stuff, it's like, whoa, and you just all of a sudden feel a burst of energy. You want to go do it too, right? So what happens as a result, like for us as teachers, right, when we start training our minds, I know I do, like hands down for sure, we show up differently for our students. And so I know I've just seen it just too many times. I'm a total believer in that. So I want you guys to maybe type in the chat. Berta, feel free to share as well. I want you to ask yourself this question: How am I doing with training my mind and feeding my mind? How am I doing with that? Is this a daily habit that I'm doing? Is this something that, you know, I do like every once in a while? So go ahead and, Dawn says she's doing Pilates while she's listening to this. I love that.
That's the way to do it. Sometimes, you know what? If you come to this group every Wednesday, this is your appointment to like doing your Pilates or your beach on demand, or your beach body on demand, or whatever it is that you use. Or, you know, if you're going to Claudia's going with CI group on Tuesday, so you can watch this while you're working out, you know?
I love it. That's fabulous. So while we're waiting on the answers for that, I really want you guys to self-assess and reflect, you know, how are you doing with your mind training? What are you doing specifically to build yourself up?
What stories are you listening to? Because if you are listening to all this negativity, and I'm not against venting, okay? Sometimes we need to vent, but we can't dwell on that space. And we have to be very careful with that, because I don't know what type of school culture you're in as far as staff goes, but, you know, for us teachers, we can definitely vent and we can express our discontent. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to make sure that we are listening to the right messages. That is not, you know, something of like, oh, we can feel defeated, but we know we can get out of that mindset.
Exactly.
And it happens to me because I felt that way like 3 weeks ago. I was telling you guys about how stressed I was about the whole situation with my son. And I was feeling like I was a terrible mother. And just all these things, and I felt stuck on that mindset, and when I feel stuck like that, it's like I gotta get out of here. So definitely it is so important to feed your mind the right words, because if you don't feed your mind the right words, if you don't fill your mind the right messages, guess what's gonna feed your mind whether you realize it or not? The news. Your environment that might not be, you know, I mean, sometimes we don't have control of our environment. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So, you know, keep that in mind. So we have to make sure that we are nurturing our mind so that we can have those, that strength as well. So.
Yes, exactly. Happy birthday, Madeline. Very exciting. And
happy birthday.
Yes. We're super excited for you. That's amazing. Glad you could tune in with us on your birthday. That's awesome. Thank you for giving you a good little gift. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue. Oh, go ahead.
When I tell my students when they win on Quiz It Live, dulces virtuales.
Yes.
You know,
I love that. It's like the virtual version of like confetti. I love it. Amazing. So if we continue on, I just wanted to, point out that, see, Dawn says I conquer one negative with two positives. Yeah, totally. Great suggestion. One thing I wanted to point out is that, training your mind, this is something that literally is a non-negotiable. It has to happen Monday through Sunday, literally every day. Like we can't take days off from this, right? And that's a big deal. And so even if we're having a bad day, which we will, and we're going to have bad weeks sometimes as well, we want to make sure that we're spending time, whether it's 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour, whatever it is, feeding our mind, because we know that we're going to come out of it. And so in order to get to the other side of that, we need to feed our mind. And we're also when we're in that bad negative place, and it happens to all of us, it happens to the best of us, we're going to get out of it a lot faster when we're feeding our minds these daily inspirational messages, right? And so somebody said, I start the day reading devotionals and seeking the good every day. Yeah, no, totally. We're actually going to talk about that too. So thank you for bringing that up.
And then we have Tammy, who's saying, I'm feeding my mind by listening to this.
Yes.
I found this page. Oh, we're glad you found this page too. Welcome, Tammy. Other ways I nurture myself is that I take warm baths and skate. I do that too. Oh my God. I cannot live without that. I need to have at least, a warm one in the tub. Try to work 20 to 30 minutes a day. Excellent. That is excellent.
Inspiring me, Tammy. I'm like, yes. Okay, I need to up my game here. Let's go. And then also some other things, just kind of wanted to point out is the question, what are some resources that we can use to feed our mind? Well, it's obviously very individual. If you're kind of a spiritual person and all that, you can turn to those types of things as well. But, just some other things that we can do is listen to a podcast. And we can also, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you can revisit trainings. We're all teachers, right? You can revisit trainings. And I know for me, that's a lot of times what I turn to when I need to feel inspiration about going to school. Right? If I'm just super tired and just not looking forward to the day for whatever reason, if I revisit an old training, reading an article, looking at a old Facebook Live or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, and it gives me the needed reminders that I desire to make me a more inspirational and better teacher every day. So revisiting those old trainings to make you a better teacher will oftentimes help as well, and I use that a lot. Of course, there's self-help books, and as we talked about, spiritually upbuilding material, whatever form that takes for you. Those are all really great things to help.
And you really don't need to spend money on because if you go to YouTube alone, just off the top of your head, Nikki, who can you think about? Of course, I have to say Eric Thomas, because he's I just love Eric Thomas. I need a shirt. And then Tony Robbins, he's really good. And then there's Nick, who's overcome so many adversities. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But incredible. And there's a community. I mean, there's just so much. You can just go to YouTube, or you can go to Google and say top motivational speakers. And no, we're not just talking about, a lot of people are iffy about motivation and being positive. But to be honest, like I said, if you don't feed your mind that, like I said, and I'm going to say it again, if you're not feeding your mind good thoughts, good things, well, then guess what else is going to come feed your mind? And we want to make sure we counteract that in some way.
It's so true. It's so true. And so, like I was talking about for me, anything that has to do with teaching, whether I'm learning something to make me a better teacher or I'm becoming more proficient, I don't necessarily watch videos about Canvas for fun, but as mental training. But, something that's inspirational where if Berta posts a video of this cool training she does, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll definitely rewatch that. And it gets me excited again about teaching for whatever reason. So,
and I actually have, and I'm going to post it on the comments. If you are a brand new member on this community, we do have a document. You can sign up to get it, and it gets sent to your email. And you can access all the trainings this group has ever had with all the PDFs, with the presentations. And I mean, you have over 20 hours of PD right there, with amazing people. So if you have the link. And then I also want to recommend Inspire Proficiency, Profe Ashley Oyugari's podcast. It's so inspirational. I mean, it totally lives up to its name. And that's another great one that I like to listen to as well, to stay inspired in the profession.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Anytime somebody posts like a podcast about like teaching, I'm like, click, listen to it. I love it. It's amazing. And so another, just kind of finishing up on the mind section, feeding our mind with these positive things. This is medicine, right? This is medicine for us. And so, the reason why we need this is because, to maintain and build and sustain momentum, we have to remember that our motivation is directly tied to that, like how motivated we are. But what's tied to our motivation? Our emotions, right? Our emotions are direct. So motivation is totally connected to emotions. It's totally emotional, right? So that's the reason why when we listen to these positive messages and all this, it has to be a non-negotiable, because if you consider the alternative, right? Let's say that you go a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks without, training your mind. What's going to happen as a result of that, right? Nothing. We're just going to be mentally satiated. And, it's like we talked about at the bottom of the slide here. It's like food. We don't want to skip. We don't want to go 3 days without eating, right? So we don't want to go 3 days or 2 days or however long without training our mind, again, because what's going to happen to us if we don't? And if we think about this, it can really spiral, right? I mean, this is like real talk here. It can really spiral. If you stop feeding your mind, then that's going to crash your confidence. And then when your confidence is crashed, then what happens? You start making bad decisions. You might take it out on your family. You might take it out on your students, right? And then it can get really bad. Like if you take it out on a student, you might have parents down your throat. You might have admin down your throat. You could lose your job, your healthcare. I mean, it can really get to a high level.
I was telling you, Nikki, if I could just be honest with our listeners tonight, I was telling you before we jumped in this presentation that today, normally I start with prayer. I start my day with prayer and this amazing devotional that I absolutely love that my friend Joanna gave me. And God bless her for that. It's a wonderful devotional. So I start my day with reading the devotional and prayer. And today I didn't get a chance to do that because I was just like, I got to get to the computer, And I was okay, skip that, skip God, let me just get to the computer, skip the motivation, skip all of that. So I started putting grades in. It's just been a very long day. And I noticed, because I don't know if this happens to you, maybe it just happens to me, but students, they don't have that urgency to complete assignments until they see that they're on the grade book. Has that ever happened to you? Because
no, never.
Today, okay? And two grades. And I had students sending me 20 messages for 20 zeros I gave, over all my students. And, I wasn't there that day, or I don't know what this assignment is. I don't see it on the LMS, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, God. And then my son comes in, bless his heart, and I lash out on him. And I just said, okay, you know what? I need peace and quiet, go away. Horrible. And then I just had to take a step back and I'm like, I did not pray today. I did not, connect to my source today. Right. And I had to literally make the time. And I said, okay, everything's got to stop right now because I don't like this person I'm turning into at this moment. And I'm going to continue to be ugly to my family if I don't take a time out. So all it took was about 7 minutes. I always like to, when you guys, I don't know, what your, like I said, your religious preferences or whatever. And, but for me, I start my praise and worship song and then I just find that quiet time and connect to my source. And then, thank God, everything lifted off my shoulders. And here I am.
Yes. I love it. And it's so true. And I really appreciate you sharing that story because it's so powerful. When we, like you say, connect to our source, we start training our mind and we start setting intentions for our day. It doesn't really matter about the other things that happen in our day, the challenges and the problems that arise. They just don't matter as much. You know what I mean? And it's because no matter what comes our way, we're solidly grounded in our values, our morals, and who we are, right, as people. And that shouldn't change. But when we leave that and we say, I'm just going to put this to the side for a second, then all of a sudden we start swaying with whichever way the wind blows, and it just doesn't turn out well. So there's that. And so again, I just wanted to remind you guys, hopefully you've benefited from this so far, but I'm going to be hosting, 3 more mental acuity workshops and more than that, if you want. We just kind of want to see how they go, but they're going to be on Sundays. Usually probably around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got September 27th, October 4th, and October 11th if you'd like to come. And if you are interested in that, just shoot me an email.
That's my birthday, October 11th.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy very soon birthday. That's awesome.
Birthday.
Lots of birthdays this time of the year. Mine's a little far off. It's in December, so, well, not too far, but that's all right. Okay, so again, as we were talking about before, really the question, this is my trigger question. So, you have to, like, trigger in a good way. You have to, when you're doing all these things, you have to really dig deep and find out what gets you excited about working out, or what motivates you to do these things and really push yourself. And for me, like, that question is, and I usually don't tell people like what my secret question is, but my secret question is, what is the alternative if I don't do these things, right? And then I just like let myself sit there for a second and just think of like how this situation could totally spiral out of control really fast. And as soon as I start thinking about that, I'm like, oh no, that's a major pain point for me. And because I need my job, I need my relationships with my friends, I need these things. And if I don't have that because I'm just not taking care of myself, I can't even like deal with it. So it will motivate me. I will get my butt right off the couch and go do something. That's like my trigger question. And I'll start thinking about things like, I'm going to be further away from my goals. And that's scary to me. Feeling uninspired. I'm going to be, I definitely don't want to be like that teacher at the school. That's not my goal. I don't want to feel necessarily overwhelmed and project that on my kids either, because I know that they're overwhelmed. And as the adult in the classroom, I feel like my job is really to be their source of peace, right? And stability. That's super important to me in the classroom. So I need to take care of myself so that I can do that. I don't want to feel depressed, right? Because that just brings out a whole slew of other things. And I don't want to feel like I'm paralyzed and that I can't do anything. And the bottom line is, now, if you take nothing away from this training, webinar, Facebook Live, whatever you want to call it, if you take nothing away from this, just take this one thing. It's that you don't have to feel paralyzed when these problems start becoming overwhelming to you. Start with, like Berta said, find your source, start taking care of yourself mentally, start taking care of yourself physically, start small and build from there. And that's how you reset this process, if you've lost momentum, right? And so, that's kind of how I think of it. And then at the end of the day, right, my students, if I don't do these things, that's why I asked my question, what is the alternative if I don't do these things? My kids are going to suffer, right? They're going to be the ones paying the price, essentially, for me not taking care of myself. And that's just, it's a thought I can't deal with.
And
so
people always say, I guess for me, my question is, how bad do I want this? It is always my question. And what do I mean by want this? It always goes back to like your why. Why are you doing this job? Why did you select, out of all things you could have been, why did you decide to be a teacher? And it all goes back to that why. And I have other goals other than being a teacher as well, personal goals. And I have to wake up every day and I have to have that energy to like go get them. Even to be here with you guys every Wednesday night. Like I have to remember my why. It's not because I don't want to be here. I want to be here every Wednesday. Don't get me wrong. Like, because I absolutely love talking to you. I love seeing like Rebecca and Madeline and Dawn, and sometimes Dawn just catches the replay, but that's okay. I know Dawn is going to listen anyway. But I absolutely love it. Like, and I love it when you guys send me messages and you guys, tell us, what an impact this talks have done on your profession. And that is my why. That is the why I continue to reach out to people like Nikki and say, hey, come talk to my Facebook community, please, because you have a message that needs to be heard. And all of this posting and all of these groups, so that more people can come. It's because that we want to make sure that everybody gets free PD. We want to make sure that everybody that wants to take a message or learn from a skill or something that is working for our presenters, we want to share that with you. So as far as teaching goes, always remember, it sounds cliche, but you have to remember really your why. And then, don't look at the circumstance, because right now if I am thinking about my why, I could give myself a million excuses of why my why isn't working out right now. But you know what? We are definitely stronger than that. And if we are not stronger right now, mentally or physically, we can get ourselves there. Because you know the beauty of the body and the brain, like Nikki was saying earlier, your body will get stronger. You can be stronger. You can, you know, if what you want to do is shed some pounds, you can totally do that and achieve that. We can do anything we set our mind to do. And you know, if you want to be the most amazing teacher right now during COVID, you can be that if that's what you want to be. Although, you know, like I would say right now, good
good is good enough.
So
yes,
absolutely, absolutely. Find your one question, and you know, I think Nikki's question, it's a great question. What is the alternative if you don't do these things? And my question is definitely, you know, like, how bad do I want this? How bad do I want this? Okay, Berta, show me how bad you want, you know, this. How bad do you want to continue to show up for your students and make a difference in their lives and make sure that the class that they're taking with you is a lot more than just a class? Am I going to reach every student? Maybe not, and that's okay. But you know, the ones that I'm going to reach, that's gonna be my legacy. So you know, just you got to have, you know, a broad vision, because we're doing this for a much bigger purpose. But absolutely, we have Alma who's saying, I've noticed that I feel better, more motivated, and even look better when I work at 5 a.m. Yes, Alma.
Oh, girl. Yeah. I wish I was you. I love that. That's amazing. And I love Dawn's comment that Justin has, like, yeah, he's so amazing. And I really recommend, if you haven't signed up for it, his online course, like on Zoom. Amazing. Like, it's so good. And like, when I first started the course, I haven't finished it yet, but like when he started talking about like, okay, you're okay as a teacher, like you're exactly what your students need, you know, and this was before he got into like any of the technological pieces of it. I was like, bruh, that is genius. Because like when I first logged in, I'm like, give me all the strategies, but I didn't realize I needed, you know, the I needed the mental preparation first. And I was like, yep, that was good. So I'd highly recommend it. And he's so good. And then
I also have it, and it's like super what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say cheap. It's super affordable. That's the word I'm looking for. Affordable. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, super affordable. It's so great. And so as far as like breathing exercises, I met this like super cool, amazing guy yesterday, and we were just like talking, and he said, don't take this the wrong way. This is just a random thing I wasn't even planning to say today. But he was like, don't take this the wrong way. He goes, you talk on your in-breath. And so he goes, did you notice like you hold your breath a lot? And I was like, no, I really didn't realize that I hold my breath a lot. And it's because of the stress, right? And he said, you know, when you're talking, you breathe in, and as you're breathing in, you're still talking, right? He goes, you need to talk more on the out breath. And I was like, oh, and that just kind of helps you to kind of lighten up on your shoulders and relax a little bit and feel a little less tense. So, I mean, that was literally just one random thing I learned yesterday just from talking to this random person. And I thought it was a great tip. So talk on the out breath. I tried to do that in school today. I'm like, okay.
Absolutely. Actually, I have a little presentation with brain breaks that I'm going to be sharing with everybody on my email. That's part of the surprise I'm sending in the email this week. And in there, you have some exercises for breathing where you can just, you know, it tells you how, and it counts it. And it's not a video that I make. It's actually a link from a video on YouTube. But, you know, it works. And I do those brain breaks with my students, more for me than for them, to be honest. Those specific ones we have to...
Exactly. So let's go ahead. Yeah, no, it's such a good thing to bring that sort of mindfulness into the classroom as well. I went to a seminar on it one time, and it was like ridiculously amazing. Absolutely. So the third thing out of the fourth is, you know, gratitude. So first, before we actually get into some specifics with this, you know, I want to talk about some of the benefits first. The benefits of like cultivating a grateful spirit, you know, and just having gratitude, first of all, it makes us feel happier. It makes us feel good, you know, just as people, right? But it's not just having gratitude that makes us happier. It's expressing it, right? It's kind of like that old saying, there's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, right? And that is so true, because when we express gratitude, it just makes us feel better and we feel happier. And so, like, for me, I try to like email, like, one way I try to express gratitude is like, the administration at my school, they work so hard. They work so hard, and they're really, really, really nice. Like, I've never caught our administration, like, if they're having a bad day, you don't know it. You know what I mean? And like, they're just super positive when you come around. It's really very selfless of them, and I just really admire them for that. And so, like,
the same way about mine, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I try to, really express gratitude to them, just every once in a while, every couple, weeks or whatever, just send them an email or write them a note and say, I just want to thank you guys so much for like all the work that you're doing and behind the scenes. And, I might not know everything or see everything, but I really appreciate, everything that you're doing. And like, they always write me back and they're like, oh, thank you so much. And they're so happy. And like, sometimes they'll write things like, you have no idea how much that meant to me, to hear that today, or something like that, because like they need it too. So expressing gratitude is really where it's at. That's kind of the keys to Narnia, so to speak. That's really the meat of the thing. So if we have a diary, we can write, like, when we wake up in the morning and we want to express gratitude, maybe there's like no one necessarily that we specifically need to thank in this moment, but maybe just writing it in a diary entry. We can also do it like, you said, with your devotionals and prayer, right? You can also just kind of think about it. I don't necessarily recommend just thinking about it, though, just because, if you start thinking, your mind can get like way off track about stuff. So I don't necessarily think about it. Like, try to make it more of an action, either writing it, typing it, texting it, praying about it, whatever it is. Expressing that gratitude really helps us to make us feel happier, and it makes us feel good. And then really the key to all of this is like, like you were saying earlier, Berta, if you start thinking about like all the negative things and you're not feeding your mind and your body, all these other things will start feeding your mind, these kind of negative things. But if we get into a place of gratitude, it helps to neutralize all of that, right? And it has less of an impact on our lives, which is great. So, right now, if you want to do this in the chat real quick, think of some things that you're grateful for. Maybe friends, family, whatever blessings that are kind of coming your way. So, Berta, what are some things that you think you're grateful for, like, in this moment?
Well, I am absolutely grateful because, God has had a wonderful timing in my life. I've mentioned here before that my best friend with whom I work, and I had the privilege of working with her for 5 years, my actual best friend, I'm grateful because I had the privilege of working with her, but I'm also grateful not because she left. I'm still torn because she left. But when she left, God brought me other amazing angels. That's when I connected with Claudia Elliott. That's when I connected with my friend Lisa McCarg, and when I connected with my friend Christina Major. So I'm just so grateful because, it's like, had I not connected with those three, I would have just been super shattered after my friend left, So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this community and everyone in here who's always so giving and sharing. So I try to share things in here, but people are always also, sharing or sending me messages and saying, hey, share this, or, and all the guests who have come here, I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful because, guests like you, Nikki, who make this community happen on Wednesdays. And I'm so grateful for that. And also my amazing administration at the district level and, at the school level. I am the same way. I tell my principal and the assistant principal, I tell them, I'm so grateful for, how you handled the situation. And they normally respond with something like, oh, that's because we have an amazing team. That okay. But yeah, I'm so grateful for that. And so we have several people who have said something. Actually, Airam, before you started talking about gratitude, she said, I'm blessed that I was here listening to both of you. You both light up so profoundly. Thank you. She has to go, but she didn't want to. So she's probably not listening anymore. But thank you, Airam. Madeline is saying that she found me, Christina, Lisa, Claudia in the summer, and they have been we have been a great inspiration to Madeline. I'm so grateful for that, Madeline, and your words. So we have more comments here.
Oh, Dawn, you're cracking me up.
Huh? Don?
She wrote, grateful for the freshman boy. Thank you, Madeline. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Don says, grateful for the freshman boy who blurted out in class today that I just have to tell you, Senora, you're hilariously funny.
Oh.
That's
So,
cute.
my yoga teacher always used to instill in her students a spirit of gratitude. That is amazing. That's wonderful. I am saving for 4-hour commute and at home earlier, and I do not leave home. Woohoo! Yes.
Amen.
Dawn is saying that she keeps a gratitude journal. She gives her something to cheer her up when she's feeling down. Grateful for the family, always, because I mean, without a supportive family right now, I don't know. I mean, my husband could have already divorced me if he wanted to, but he's still here.
That's right.
Yes, I am so grateful for having found such an amazing community to help teachers thrive, and we want to continue to do that. So thank you so much for being part of this community. We have Alba, who's saying she's grateful for the generosity of many teachers wanting to share ideas, experiences, tips, and resources. Yes, and not just in this group, but like there's a lot of groups now. There are a lot of groups, and they're all different. Each group has its own unique thing that they offer. But you have some groups kind of like the one that is on remote teaching. Oh my God, they're not doing nothing but sharing resources every day. I'm having a hard time catching up with all of that, but that's wonderful that, I mean, we're all pulling together to support each other. We read Dawn's funny one. So Claudia is saying that, she is so thankful for you, my friend. So Claudia, I'm so thankful and so grateful for you. Like seriously,
Amazing.
My angels. So.
This is an amazing group. I wouldn't want to do this presentation for anybody else. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm grateful for that and many other things. So if we just kind of continue on with this aspect of things, thank you for, your comments and stuff, because that was really inspiring for sure. But one thing I want to point out, somebody said, Berta, is this recorded?
Yeah, it's I'm going to share the presentation. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So one thing, I wanted to talk about is that the more grateful we are, right? The more we work out, the stronger we are, the more we feed our mind, the more inspired we are, the more we are grateful, the more blessings we see, right? And a lot of times we don't see these blessings that we have, like we naturally have, all this beautiful nature around us, all these different things. We don't see it, right? Because we're so overwhelmed with all the, whether it's negativity or we're just overwhelmed with tasks and responsibilities that we have, whatever it is, right? So the more we focus on gratitude, then the more blessings we're going to see, which is going to make us happier, because we're actually going to start paying attention to the good things in our life. And it's just going to focus, help us focus in on those things, right? So it also, just neurologically, it has physical benefits as well. When we are grateful for things and we make that a pattern and a daily habit, we start to develop more positive and automatic patterns in our brain, right? And we start to lean towards that as opposed to always defaulting to something negative, right? And so for me, one thing that I like to do is, when I'm starting my day, is I just tell myself today's the best day ever, right? And I've started doing that because it really opens me up to like these great opportunities, right? If I didn't, I firmly believe that if I didn't start my day this way, that Berta never would have contacted me. You know what I mean? Never would have given me this opportunity. So, I appreciate that. And that's the power of doing all these things, is that, these doors sort of open up for you, or you just feel happier with your life, whatever it is. There's so many benefits. So I can't, say enough about it. And the last point here is that on the bad days, right, expressing gratitude, that should be the first thing that we do, right? Doesn't have to be working out, doesn't have to be listening to an inspirational message, because none of that really is going to work out if we're just kind of begrudgingly doing it and we're not grateful for the life that we've been given and all these wonderful blessings. So when on the bad days, start with gratitude and then build from there, right? That's kind of how I see it. So.
And I totally agree with that. It is just so important to do it on those bad days, to, find something good. I don't know, even though it seems everything is going terribly, find one thing. You can breathe. You can breathe that day. You're still alive. You still have, your family around you, or I mean, just, we're not lacking food or anything like that. Just be grateful. Find something to be grateful for, even on those tough days. And that honestly will make a world of a difference to find that time to be grateful for all the blessings.
I think so too. So we're going to go on to the very last thing, or the very last topic here. Let me pull that up. Okay. And it's taking action. And so before I get into that, I just want, oh no, never mind. I'm good. So as far as taking action, when we're writing down, our to-do list, like here's mine, like I cannot do anything without this, and it's crazy. And you can see all these lines going through it, like trying to get things done. And it's just this never ending list. Right. And sorry, my camera's it's not dark. I should have turned on the light, but the sun's going down. So I'm using, that's like all the windows. So it looks a little dark in here. But anyway, when it comes to writing down like all of our tasks that we have to do, the first thing that we want to do and remember is that we want to do this when we're feeling grateful and inspired, right? That's when we want to take the time to write down these to-do lists. So write down the things that we need to do when we're in that mindset. And then we need to obviously, look for ways to be more organized and to be more balanced in our lives. And like you said, Berta, making this really like a priority in our lives. Because if we don't, again, my trigger question is, what's the alternative? What happens if we don't? And then the next thing is, I kind of just want you guys to take some time to reflect on this, and let's answer the question, what's one thing that we as individuals can do today to make this happen in our lives? What's one thing? So just kind of take a second, go in the chat and type in one thing that maybe you think that you can kind of get started on today, right? Even though I know it's kind of late, but what is something that you can do today to really get the ball rolling? So Berta, do you have any suggestions, or what do you feel? How do you feel about this?
Well, I think, like I said, just like you, Nikki, I have an exercise today. So that's one thing that I'm going to make sure I do later on today before I go to sleep. I get my 30 minutes in because that's about the time I need. And yes, so absolutely. That's the one thing that I'm going to do today. And I think, just remembering why I need to be consistent with the mind, with the body. I don't know, maybe write a sticky note in like my bathroom, and here putting one next to my computer, like with my quote, with my question, just to kind of get me on that zone.
Exactly. So when we start thinking about specific things that we can do, then we no longer feel paralyzed, right? Because we know that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to eventually balance out, right? We're in this weird phase right now, but somebody says I want to get to my abdominal crunches. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Me too. Me too right now. But anyway, we don't have to be paralyzed, right? That's the key. We can definitely take action here. And in those moments where we do feel this way, use these strategies. But, another strategy that I, didn't bring out today, I just wanted to focus on the 4 that Tony Robbins had mentioned, but just like reach out, right? Reach out to somebody. You can reach out to Berta. You can definitely reach out to me, anybody who you want to, and just kind of talk to them and like let them know how you're feeling. Because like Berta said, it's totally fine to vent and say like, I'm just kind of in a bad place right now and I just need somebody to listen. And that's totally fine too. So I just kind of wanted to point that out, right? You don't have to be like this machine that just, is perfect and everything. That's not the case. And then another thing is like, well, it goes back to this point is, can we reach out and connect with more people, right? Can we do that? And how can we do that? That's really the key. And so like for me, in terms of gratitude, I'll just like text somebody, maybe somebody who I haven't had texted in a long time. I'll go through my contact list and I'll just send somebody a random text and I'll be like, thanks for being awesome, man. Miss you. You know what I mean? Or I'll send somebody a Facebook message. Maybe I see a cool post on their, they're on my timeline, and doing more than just liking it. I'll like message them and say, like, this is a super cool message. Thanks for posting this, or whatever it is, even if I haven't talked to them in like years. Right. So what can we do to specifically connect and like reach out to more people? That's really going to help us not feel so isolated, especially like when we're at the computer all day and we're talking to these rectangular black squares. And it's just, there's a lot of things that we can do. We don't have to be stuck where we are. So now I kind of want to reassess where are we? Right? Where are we? Hopefully we're feeling a little bit more inspired, but like Berta said in the beginning, we really have to be ready to receive the message. So it really doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. If you're still in the same place, that's totally okay. This is where you start, right? Maybe start with the mental or the physical, whichever one you want, but where are you right now? And that's the key. I know where I am, and we talked about that before, how overwhelmed I was at the beginning of the year. I didn't have any time. My life totally changed, all these things. So I know where I'm at. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to start small and build from there. Right. And the last thing that I, just want to say is, I'm just going to read this. In the end, our success isn't going to be defined by how much grading we did or how much time we spent lesson planning. It's about developing the small daily habits that train us to love the process and the journey we're on. Right. That's the key. So that's pretty much all I got. I just, again, wanted to let you know that the mental acuity workshops are these days. And if you're interested in that, just send me an email and I'll send you the registration link. I'm trying to get like a website started and, all this cool stuff going. So it makes it a little bit easier. But
Absolutely.
If you felt that this was worth it, I hope so. I genuinely hope it helps you.
Here, Nikki, we're going to make sure that once you get that website, we announce it here. So everybody can connect with you.
Awesome. Let me get the lights turned on in here. It's so dark. I'm like, nobody can see. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
But thank you so much for this incredible chat and for just reminding us of how important it is to make sure that we build that strength, that inner strength, that physical strength. It's all about honoring our body, really, and our mind and our purpose. What a beautiful message. What a beautiful message. So thank you so much for everything. And people can connect with you if they have questions or they want to come learn from you. You're going to have these workshops and they can email you if they're interested for more information.
Yep, exactly. And as soon as I get like a little, website up or whatever, then I can it'll just be a easier way, kind of one less hoop to jump through to get to them. But it's very easy. Just shoot me an email if you feel like this is something. And, one thing I do want to remind people of as well is that regardless of whether you do the workshops or not, taking care of yourself, that's just one way to take care of yourself mentally. Like, you're going to get, mentally fed and motivated on Sunday. Like that's what I'm going to try to provide. But either way, it doesn't really matter. The key point here though, is that you don't want to just take this webinar and just go from there and stop. Right? This has to be a daily habit. So continue to make these things habits in your life. And, think about it a month from now. Like if you just listen to this webinar and then a month from now, 2 months from now, you hadn't done any of this, where will you be? So try to make this a daily habit in your life and, keep going strong, keep us updated of your progress and let us know how things are going and reach out because we definitely want to hear from you. I know I feel inspired every day by you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're going to go ahead and say good night. And yes, Reina, and yes, I cannot see the name, but I think I know who it is. Let me double check. Yes, Mariuxi. And Reina, sí, viva México, que soy independiente de México, claro.
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and head out. We'll see you next Wednesday. I have another special surprise for you next Wednesday. So don't miss it out. We'll be here for Transformation Wednesday again next Wednesday. And we will certainly make sure you guys stay connected to Nikki once she has her website up and running so that you can continue, to follow her messages. And if you want to get in one of her trainings, send her an email. And I'm going to be posting the link if you are a new member and you want to get on my email list so you can get all the freebies and you can get all the Facebook replays of all the lives that we've done here in the past. I'm going to post that in the link in the chat. And I'm also going to actually create a post because a lot of people don't know about it. And I want to make sure you don't miss out on that. So you guys have a great evening and I will see you next Wednesday. Take care.
All right. Bye.